With the 50% off Barnes & Noble Criterion sale coming next month, it got me thinking, if I had to start my entire Criterion collection over again, which 10 films would I begin with? When starting out collecting the Criterion collection, it's common to go for films you've already heard of, by directors you're familiar with, or just flat out movies you've already seen before. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's how I started my collection as well. But being into Criterion collection, I would hear names like Ingmar Bergman or Federico Fellini or Wim Wenders or Ozu. It would feel daunting to figure out how to expand my collection into realms I really never even thought of before. So the whole concept of this video began with, if I had to pick 10 films I would recommend to you to expand your Criterion collection, these would make that list. Let's jump into it. As a quick precursor, I did want to say that I tried to pick 10 films that were a little bit varied in their themes and tone and where they come from. So I wanted to start off with something that was a little bit more lighthearted and contemporary, and that is Frances Ha. This film stars none other than the director of Barbie, Greta Gerwig, in a leading role. In fact, this is directed by her husband, Noah Baumbach. Released in 2013, shot in black and white, and only 86 minutes long, it's about finding what's next in life, being in that kind of middle period in your late 20s, early 30s, really transitioning from a youth mindset into adulthood, and navigating all that while trying to maintain a fun and happy-go-lucky lifestyle. It's hilarious, it's timely, and it's touching. Moving on. Number 9 on my list is Tokyo Story by director Yasujiro Ozu, a very famous director in the Criterion collection. You'll find multiple of his films, but not only that, he's highly regarded by a lot of modern filmmakers, and if you listen to famous directors like Martin Scorsese or Wim Wenders talk about their favorite filmmakers, Ozu often comes up on their list. This movie came out in 1953 and is a contemplative, reflective story about two elderly parents visiting their young children in the bustling city of Tokyo, and it's just an insightful meditation on humanity. I really enjoyed the pace of this movie. It is a slower paced film. It's a slower paced film, so make sure you're in the right mindset for it. But if you're looking to have more of a meditative experience with the movie and you want to put this on and just relax, it kind of reminds me of like reading a good book before bed. It's a great slow-paced, moving, and lovely film. Tokyo Story. Okay, number 9. Piero, god damn it. I took French in high school and I still struggle. Piero Le Fou. We're gonna go with that. Piero Le Fou. Or Peter the Fool, I think, is the translation. Either way, this movie is directed by Jean-Luc Godard and came out in 1965. Jean-Luc Godard is one of those names that I would hear a lot in the collection and be intimidated by trying to get into. You hear French New Wave and you're like, I don't know what an art house film is. Like, what is it? And is it accessible? The answer is yes. It is very accessible. It actually feels incredibly modern. I think that's why, the French New Wave, 1965, this was pushing boundaries of filmmaking at the time, but a lot of the filmmaking techniques and the way the story is presented is very modern in its feeling because it was so forward-thinking at the time. It even has a scene where the characters break the fourth wall and talk directly to the audience. Also, if you watch this movie, it'll have you crushing on Anna Karina a little bit. She is so whimsical and fun in this movie, and she uproots the main character away on this adventure journey where they're almost Bonnie and Clyde-esque, committing crimes and living penny to penny as they just venture across France. But it has meaningful themes, and it definitely resonated with me. In fact, let's just say my mind was blown at the end. If you've seen the movie, you've seen the movie. Okay. What are we on? Hopefully I've said this. These are in no particular order. I'm just doing it as a countdown. Okay, film number 7? Film number 7, I think. I am not very good at counting. I should have probably been placing them somewhere within sight so I could glance at them. Anyways, Ghostworld. This is another contemporary film I'm putting on the list. 2001, and stars Thora Birch as our lead, along with Scarlett Johansson and Steve Buscemi. directed by Terry Zwigoff. Yeah, I had to put this on the list because I actually just recently picked this one up, and it really affected me. I was in a Barnes & Noble, okay, so recently, being last November. I got this at the last 50% off sale, and I got into a conversation with the clerk that was working at the Barnes & Noble, and we were talking films, and I got this recommendation from him. I'm so glad he recommended this to me and that I actually picked it up, because it was kind of like an earth-shattering experience for me. I'm very fond of coming-of-age movies to begin with, and this takes place right after high school, where a lot of our main character's friends are deciding on where they're going to go off to college. Meanwhile, she's kind of stuck trying to figure out where her place is in this world, or honestly whether or not she even wants a place in this world. It has so much to say about what we value as humans, self-image, passions, hobbies, interests, and the importance we place on those, and the importance we place on other people, and how we associate with other people because of those things. I was really moved by it. In fact, it felt a lot like what Materialist, the new movie that just came out, it actually felt a lot like what that movie was trying to do, but Materialist felt a little heavy-handed. This, on the other hand, feels organic. It's a beautiful film. The next entry on this list is for those that are looking to get into classic Hollywood films. Maybe you haven't seen a lot of classic Hollywood cinema, and you can see there's a ton of classic Hollywood in the Criterion collection, and I have watched many of them. I'm a big fan of classic Hollywood films, but this is one of my all-time favorites. Sweet Smell of Success. Directed by Alexander Mackendrick, who is also a film professor, I believe. He didn't direct too many films, but this is a masterpiece in my opinion. Released in 1957 in 96 minutes, starring Burt Lancaster and Tony Curtis, Jamie Lee Curtis's dad. If you're looking for a classic film with that fast-paced banter and a tightly written script, this is it. Our characters are a little grimy with some questionable gray area stuff, which I always enjoy in a classic film because they had to be so morally straight-line sometimes. Burt Lancaster plays a vicious Broadway gossip columnist, and Tony Curtis is the schmarmy guy running around trying to get the next story to sell to these columnists, and so he's often doing smear campaigns and throwing anyone under the bus to try to get ahead. Of course, it has positive lessons and themes, but it's such a fun movie, a fun journey, and it transports you into old 1950s New York City, which is always a fun environment and place to be. Not to mention, this movie actually has a lot of really great wide and exterior shots, which sometimes you don't see in a lot of these classic 50s films, that really just places you into New York City, and I really love that. While we're on classic Hollywood films, I wanted to bring up a classic noir film. That brings me to number 5 on this list. Is it 5? So if you're interested in tackling the noir category, this is my recommendation to get started. Nightmare Alley. Released in 1947 and starring Tyrone Power, who has become one of my new leading favorite actors of classic Hollywood cinema. This tells the story of a small-time carny as he works his way through a world of circus performers and clairvoyance and spirals into a little bit of darkness. This movie is a great Halloween time or fall time flick with an eerie and beautiful atmosphere. That's one of the funnest things about this movie. The fog, the harsh lighting, and the scenery of it all. It's absolutely great. And a perfect thing to put on in the background at like a Halloween party if you just want something on the TV. I would watch this. Anyways. Whoop. Oh yeah, and also this comes with a bunch of tarot cards inside, which is kind of cool. I was wondering what was clanking around in here. Yeah, sometimes these Criterion discs have some pretty awesome inserts. Oh, that reminds me, there's a really fascinating special feature on this one about those traveling carnivals and circuses from that this story is based on, and explores the fascinating and kind of evil, sadistic world that it was back in like the 20s, 30s, and well, even before that. Circus freaks and all those characters. So it was such a good documentary. So yeah, if not only buying it for the film, the supplements on this one are excellent. Number 4 on my list is a bit of a cheat because it does have 2 films in this, and that is Police Story 1 and 2. Now, I'm a pretty big Jackie Chan fan. I'm sure a lot of you guys are too. But I hadn't actually gone further back into some of his earlier works, like Police Story 1 and 2, until I picked up this Criterion box set. I don't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting these films to be so good. That sounds bad, but if you look at a lot of 90s Jackie Chan films, they really prioritize, martial arts or the stunt work, which is why you kind of watch them. They're very exciting for that reason. And these movies have that. They have great stunts, great action, but the story themselves, I was surprised how much, especially Police Story 1, plays out a little bit more like a modern day indie rom-com. The characters are so well written, and they have such fun banter with each other and romantic situational comedy, which I really was not expecting. I think Police Story 1 is a phenomenal film, and there was a whole sequence on the bus here, which is pictured here, which is a pretty cool case, that really had my jaw dropping. I was blown away by it. And if I didn't mention, these are actually both directed by Jackie Chan himself, and they came out in 1985 and 1988. There's something about the gritty filming style that services these. Maybe you're not that interested in martial arts films, but the actual films themselves and the characters stand on their own. I think these are really great crime thrillers and comedy films. Police Story 1 and 2. Okay, now I know I said this list was in no particular order, but the top 3 on my list are probably 3 films you'll see on other people's lists of best Criterion Collection films or movies that are must-haves, but the truth is they really are. Each of these next 3 opened my eyes to filmmakers and their film catalog that had some of the most altering effects on me while I watched them, and got me thinking about film in a different way. These top 3 are definitely what I would consider to be staples of my Criterion Collection. And we're going to start with number 3 in no particular order. Paris, Texas, which I don't actually have anymore. I am planning on picking up the 4K during this next sale, so I don't have the physical copy here with me, but Paris, Texas, which is directed by Wim Wenders, is among one of the great contemporary dramatic works of our time. I'm the kind of person who genuinely likes to go into movies blind, and I went into this movie completely blind, and it was such an engaging and surprising experience for me that I guess I'd prefer not to say much about it. Other than German director Wim Wenders, who made it, I've not only gone and watched as many of his films that are in the Criterion Collection, he's also become one of my all-time favorite directors since seeing Paris, Texas. I'm unwaveringly impressed by him and his pacing and his understanding of nature and humanity and the coexistence of them. Paris, Texas. Check it out. Also, there's an actress in it who looks like Lana Del Rey, and Lana Del Rey wrote a song called Paris, Texas. Moving on, number 2. In the Mood for Love by Wong Kar-wai. This came out in the year 2000 and is a Chinese film starring Maggie Cheung and Tony Leung. This film encapsulates the idea of art house in a lot of ways. It's what I would consider to be out there in its presentation, but it's so well put together that if you're willing to give yourself to it, you'll be swept away in it, and it'll be a euphoric, almost timeless type of experience that you'll have with the movie. It's structured in a way and also unstructured in others. It's really like no other film I've seen aside from some of Wong Kar-wai's other work, I guess. The culmination of what this film's messages and his directing style make one of the most magical pieces of film that exists, and it's all about love. Just how a meaningful relationship can have the longest lasting impact in your life. In the Mood for Love. Watch it. This is one that I do own twice because I do have the Wong Kar-wai box set as well, but with the box set, they did a full remastering and recoloring of the films that, Wong Kar-wai is kind of notorious for, he's a little bit like George Lucas. He's refiddled with his movies and recolored them and changed them over time, and because the original films are Chinese and weren't really mass distributed, they can actually be fairly difficult to get a hold of. And so some of these films that are in this box set are in a different aspect ratio, are different lengths. The cut of the film is a little bit different. The color is a little bit different. But the reason I still have my original Blu-ray copy of In the Mood for Love is because though it is the exact same cut, the coloring is totally different. The color in the box set version is completely yellow and very extreme, whereas the singular Blu-ray disc version is much more balanced in its tones and absolutely beautiful to look at. From my understanding, the In the Mood for Love on this, which is supervised by Wong Kar-wai himself, it's the colors he chose, but it is the most egregious of maybe the changes in this whole box set. So I had already owned this, but when you go to the stores and you see this 50% off sale for Barnes & Noble and you're looking at picking up In the Mood for Love, there is now a 4K edition of In the Mood for Love that's on the shelves. That is the version from this box set, although in 4K. So if you want the better color palette, the Blu-ray is still going to be your best choice. All right, for my number one, this movie I no longer have on singular Blu-ray disc as well, because I also picked up a box set that includes this film. And that is, of course, none other than Ingmar Bergman, Seventh Seal. This is the box set, but the Seventh Seal is in here along with like 40 films. The Seventh Seal by Ingmar Bergman. Actually, my dad bought this one for me for Christmas, and none of us had seen it. He just knew I liked Criterion Collection. This was about 7 or 8 years ago, and I watched it with my dad and brother on Christmas night, actually. I think we were all kind of blown away by it. I mean, it stars Max von Sydow, who you'd recognize, a much younger Max von Sydow, and it's directed by, of course, none other than Ingmar Bergman, but it follows this medieval theater troupe as they travel from village to village in Sweden. And again, I don't want to say too much. It's a philosophical Swedish powerhouse that transcends film and time. I think it's the perfect movie to introduce yourself to Ingmar Bergman, but also the potential of the Criterion Collection. It's a very easy film to watch and get into, but it has big ideas and expansive themes. It's forward-thinking, but it's also very rooted and grounded at the same time. I loved The Seventh Seal so much that I bought the Ingmar Bergman box set. I'd seen a few more of his films before I bought the box set. I've now seen about 15 of Bergman's, so I still got to work through a lot in that box set, but he is such an incredible filmmaker. The Seventh Seal might be my favorite Criterion Collection movie. At the very least, it's one of the greatest of all time and a cornerstone of anyone's Criterion Collection. You should pick up The Seventh Seal. They actually recently did a 4K restoration of it as well. So The Seventh Seal is now available on 4K, so it's worth picking up on its own. You can get that this 50% off sale. But yeah, guys, that is my list of 10 films in the Criterion Collection that are great for expanding your collection if you're looking to venture out a little bit and try something you haven't seen before. Now, a Criterion Collection journey is an ever-growing, ever-changing thing, and there's many filmmakers in the Criterion Collection I've still yet to see any films from. I haven't seen any Tarkovsky or Jacques Demy. I've only seen 2 Fellini. There's many other filmmakers that I'm not even aware of yet. I feel like in the vast catalog that is the Criterion Collection, I'm constantly finding something new and eye-opening. It's always shocking to me when I find something new that kind of blows me away that I've never heard of before. I say all that to say, in the comments below, let me know your recommendations for what I should buy this 50% off Criterion sale. I would love to hear from you guys, but otherwise, let me know what you think of the video, click like, hit subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.